Hello and welcome. I've been working on a delay algorithm today. I haven't designed the proper GUI for it yet. I'm still doing some work on the algorithm at the minute. Once that's done, then I'll make a proper GUI. If I just turn this off a sec, I've just got this basic sine wave coming from faceplant. Then if I turn this on, we have one repeat because there's no feedback. So what we have straight away is a dry-wet control. And if we go all the way wet, you can see when I press the key because it flashes white. So we're getting just a wet there. Then we have independent mixers for the left and right channels. So if I turn that off, we're only hearing the repeat of the right channel. And the same for the left. We can change the length. Just note that it's a normalized value between 0 and 1 for these sliders at the moment. In fact, first we'll add feedback. And we can actually push it all the way up to 1, and it'll feed back to the point of where it grows in volume. So it does allow you to amplify the signal before it goes back into the buffer to a level that's louder than it was originally. So then we can change the lengths of the left and right independently. So another thing we can do is we can crossfeed between the two channels when we are adding the feedback to the delay buffers. So basically what we have is two circular buffers, one for each channel, left and right. And that is the sample memory of each delay line. And then, for example, we can read from the right side buffer and write it into the left side buffer. And then the mix controls come after the crossfeeding, so we can use them to mute out, for example, or suppress one of the channels. So let's have a listen to that, first with no crossfeed. So that delay's a bit tight, so let's lengthen it a bit. Now, what we can do is we can add some feedback to the right channel. And you can hear that there's only one repeat on the left. Now let's introduce some crossfeed to the left. And now you can hear that some of the repeats of the right side are now in the left. Get rid of that. And then we could actually turn down the right channel because the mix is after the crossfeed. So now we can only hear the left, but the right is still being cross-fed into the left. So if we turn the feedback now up on the left, we're getting a strange sort of resonator kind of sound. Sort of. So let's blend them back together. Bring in the right again. Let's give the right more feedback. And then let's crossfeed some of the left back into the right. It's actually starting to border on a strange kind of reverb at this point. Kinda. Now this is when it can start to run away with itself a little bit, by design. To demonstrate that, let's bring in the oscilloscope. We'll start introducing some more feedback. So it's growing in volume. And what we'll see in a moment is that it'll start to clip in the oscilloscope. The peaks will be squashed flat. There, you can hear it. It's turning it into a square wave. And it's actually in the red on the master because of true peak clipping. So drop it a bit there. And now it won't clip the master, but it's still clipping within the plugin. And this is because I put a brick wall limiter into the plugin, so that it can't run away with itself and do damage to your speakers or anything like that. But just know that when it is brick wall limiting like that, it will be aliasing, because it is adding distortion just naturally. And it's not an analog style delay, so unless you want the aliasing, the idea is just not to let it clip. It's so loud that I've got the dry wet on 0.01. Now, we can put this into a state of balance where it'll self-oscillate and create an endless pad of awesomeness. Now, if you don't have crossfeed on, the feedback levels need to be on about 0.91, but once you've got crossfeed in there, it's a bit unruly. We get it to where it's roughly stable. Yeah, we're getting a bit of frequency bunch up from the crossfeed there. When I've got high pass and low pass filters in there, that'll be mitigated. If we set these, like I was saying, to about 0.91, then whatever we play will end up trapped inside, and we'll have infinite delay. Let's just play, I've just put a few notes in here, let's just play some of it. That'll do. So yeah, we have a infinite delay comprising of the two buffers. We can take one out, or the other one, or we can balance one against the other, or whatever really. Could modulate them even. Unfortunately, screen capturing this was an afterthought, and I didn't actually capture how I did this. Basically, I was just messing around with the delay lengths, and then I allowed it to clip a little bit by introducing some crossfeed that I then removed. I backed it off basically, but then what we ended up with was this sort of cool pattern. It sometimes eventually lines up, and then it goes out again. It's because the delay times are offset, but when I messed with the crossfeed it sort of created a glitchiness. So now it's lining up, but it will drift out again. And it came from the same loop that I was using before, but it sounds totally different. And, you know, with some processing, could create an awesome drone or soundscape sort of atmosphere or texture. And so that's why I decided to record it, because it goes in my sample library then. I've got folders and stuff in there where I put my samples that I've captured. And here I took that loop that I were messing around with earlier, and I decided to see how I could affect it with different delay lengths and crossfeed and feedback. And I decided to record it again just in case some magic happens and I want to add it to the sample library. So if I just tab back to the original project, you can see it's just looping. But then I'm capturing it in this project through a loop back. And yeah, I've got the dry wet on full wet. So we're only hearing the affected signal. So now let's change the lengths. And just note that when I do, it sometimes creates a little click. For example, listen. There. Now there's different approaches, but in this approach, what we're doing when we're changing the length is changing the size of the buffer. And so it can create some abrupt gaps or jumps in the sample data. And to get around that, I can implement some kind of smoothing solution. But that's on the to-do list. But as I say, there's some different approaches, and I'm going to experiment with them after I finish this version. I actually have some ideas to enhance the circular buffers that I was talking about earlier, so that I can replicate bucket brigade delays or tape machine delays. So when you change the length, you get the speed up and slow down effects. But obviously I've started with a straight digital delay because, well, it needs to be done. Sometimes you just want a crystal clear digital delay. So when I've finished up with this, I will work towards modifying the circular buffers to accommodate for them different types. Okay, let's merge it in from the dry to the wet. So when the GUI is in there will be linking between left and right channels. And I'm also thinking about implementing a multiplier for the lengths. There's quite a few things left to do, but it's getting there. So that's it for this video. It was just mainly to document my progress so far. If you like this content, feel free to comment, like, share and subscribe. You know the deal. And until next time, thank you for watching.